Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling, your ultimate destination for all things AEW and WWE. Whether you're a hardcore wrestling fanatic or just a casual viewer, we've got you covered with the latest news, in-depth show reviews, and our unfiltered opinions on everything happening in the world of professional wrestling. Join us as we dive into the high-octane action, dramatic storylines, and backstage buzz of AEW and WWE. Get ready to step into the ring with us and stay on top of the wrestling world. This is Top Tier Wrestling. Welcome to Top Tier Wrestling. I'm your host, Josh, the Titan of Tiger Bombs, and joining me, as always, is my phenomenal co-host, Dawn, the Siren of SmackDowns. And tonight we are covering WWE SmackDown from February 28th. Let's get into it. So tonight's SmackDown comes to us from Toronto, Canada, which means there will be obligatory appearances by Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, as well as Trish Stratus, along with many people making references to teams that most people don't know who the hell they're talking about. Probably hockey or something like that. I don't know. I'm American, so I have no idea who like the Maple Leafs are, other than the fact that it's pretty stereotypical that they're called the Maple Leafs.
Maple.
That said, we open the show with Trish Stratus coming to the ring, and the crowd is losing it, and she says, "Oh, it's the jersey, isn't it?" Because she's wearing I guess Toronto Maple Leaves or something like that jersey, sorry. And she makes a comment about how, what year is it? It's Trish Stratus coming to the ring being announced by Lillian Garcia, and The Rock is back in the mix. So apparently it's the year 2000 all over again, which I could believe because somehow Trish Stratus doesn't look altogether that different than she did 25 years ago. I don't know what virgin blood she is drinking, but it is working.
Yeah, she's finding some good. I don't know. It's from Ecuador. I don't know where it is, but she's finding some top-notch quality virginal blood.
Indeed. And she goes on to say, what she loves about wrestling. She says it's the generational impact, and I suppose since she's been here for 25 years this year, she would be able to witness it firsthand. But after kind of risen up the crowd a little bit, she says, please let me welcome my tag team partner and your WWE Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton. And she says, Toronto, can I ask you guys a question? What time is it? And Tiffany is in the ring at this point, and they alternate saying that it's Trishy and Tiffy time.
Yeah.
And it was at this moment that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to hang on to my supper. But then they rip off their jerseys, and people get excited for absolutely nothing related to the Maple Leafs, but because Tiffany and Trish are basically stripping. And then Tiffany says, it's like we're so in sync, Trishy. And and Trish says, we are in sync. It's almost like we've been hanging out a lot, training together, doing yoga together.
Like, what a random thing to just throw out there.
Yep. I feel like it was a little bit hard to make us imagine them doing weird stretchy poses together.
I know. They didn't have to say that. For anyone to already be thinking it.
No.
I'm just saying, I'm speaking for a friend.
For Yep. And they go on a little bit about how, because they're so in sync, they're going to beat Nia Jax and Candice LeRae tomorrow night in Toronto. Because that's where Elimination Chamber is taking place this Saturday. And after that, Chelsea Green comes out and points out the fact that this is a snooze fest, and nobody wants Dumb and Dumber hogging the airtime. And she asks, "Do you know who I am?" And indicates that she deserves the airtime because she's the Women's United States Women's Champion. And she said women's twice to make sure you knew that it was the Women's United States Women's Champion. And then she mentions somebody named like Austin Matthews. I don't know who the hell that is. Probably some Canadian person.
Yeah, probably.
And she goes on to just basically like make it about USA versus Canada. And it's like, but Tiffany is like, she's always been American, and like Chelsea was Canadian, or maybe still is. I don't know what her citizenship status is. But she says she became the U.S. champion, and that's because she's honored to represent the people of America. And I'm not going to point out the fact that she's been the U.S. champion for like 5 minutes, and that is a secondary belt to the women's heavyweight champion, which is what Tiffany Stratton is. But I digress.
Let her have her dream.
Tiffany makes a point of saying that, hey, I'm from America and you don't represent me. And Chelsea says, well, did I say I represent losers? And I'm sitting there thinking, she's got the belt that you wish you had, but sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And long story short, they kind of catfight for a second there until they end up in a match. And that is our first match of the night, is Tiffany Stratton with Trish Stratus versus Chelsea Green with Piper Niven. And I'm not entirely sure. I don't think this was a tag match. I think this was two singles, like Chelsea and Tiff, with essentially their friends at ringside.
Butting into the match. So it ended up kind of sort of being like a tag team match.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. And it wasn't the worst match I've ever seen Chelsea Green and Tiffany Stratton in, but it wasn't the best one either. And it really didn't go on that long before Nia Jax and Candice LeRae show up and attack Trish Stratus from behind. And
yeah,
it's not much longer after that before Tiffany Stratton goes over to interfere with Nia Jax, who is beating Trish Stratus, which would cause no problem because she's not actually in the match. But when Tiffany Stratton gets involved and Nia responds, then the match gets thrown out as a disqualification. Theoretically, against Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, who in fact had nothing to do with that, but still lost the match on disqualification. Yeah. So Tiffany wins for attacking somebody outside the ring who wasn't in the match, and then when they retaliate, she gets the win. That seems fair to Chelsea.
Yeah.
'Tis the way of things. And this was sort of a match to begin the night.
I don't think I would have picked this match to be my opener. Especially after about 15-20 minutes of high-pitched girl dialogue about being twinsies and being in sync, and like I made plenty of jokes whilst watching it, but honestly, this was not the opener or the opening match that gets me hyped for the rest of the show. But yeah. I mean, it was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't super terrible, but it wasn't very exciting. And it's not just because it wasn't exciting all on its own, but like for months and months and months, we were waiting for Tiffany to cash in Money in the Bank on Nia Jax.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like all we've seen is some permutation of Tiffany Stratton, Candice LeRae, and Nia Jax. And to be perfectly honest, this is probably the thing I'm like the least interested in going into Elimination Chamber. Like, I'm not saying I'm disinterested in Tiffany Stratton as the champion, but I'm sick of seeing her just in the orbit of like Nia and Candice. Like,
Yeah.
there's other women at SmackDown.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this is an interaction and a series of matches we've watched 1,000 times already, or some
Yeah.
variation thereof.
Yeah.
So throwing Trish Stratus into the mix doesn't do anything to really mix this up that much. And so, And I very much doubt Nia or Candice are going to win because that would bury the shit out of Tiffany when you just got the belt on her.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna be like another damn match we've seen 100 times on SmackDown over the past like year. So I really just don't see how they're going to make this interesting, and it currently is not. At least not for me. I apologize for anyone who is like a major diehard Tiffany Stratton fan. I like Tiffany Stratton. I'm just saying I'm tired of this particular matchup.
Yeah. I like her just fine, but
Yeah. I
Yeah.
definitely think she can go in the ring. I'm not losing my, shit over her the same way other people do. Like, she's not really my type. I'm not that into blondes, and I prefer darker shades. But as a wrestler, she's fantastic. It really is just me being sick of Nia, Tiffany, and Candice. And I
Yeah.
was sick of Candice when she showed up, so now I'm deathly sick of her.
Yep.
At any rate, we have Tiffany Stratton squeaking out a win via disqualification and setting up, hopefully, some kind of theoretical heat for the match with her and Trish and Nia and Candice. Whoop-de-doo. Then we come to the backstage where Solo Sikoa runs into Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. And I always find it interesting that it's like they surprise one another. Like they're surprised to see each other at SmackDown where they all work and probably rode there together. But I digress. Jacob goes on to say that what happened last week when he super duper kicked Solo in the face was an accident. And I thought this would be an opportunity for Solo to kind of return the favor and say, "Oh, I know it was, because if it wasn't, you wouldn't be standing here right now." But he didn't. He just said, "Yeah, I realize it." And he said that what happened last week made him realize that this family needs to make a statement. And he's pointing at just the three of them, just them, just their microcosm of the bloodline. And
There's
it's
the three of them.
until Tama Tonga comes back, and they're like, just the four of us.
Just the four of us.
and it starts with them getting the U.S. Championship, and Solo wants Jacob to run the play tonight. As a matter of fact, Solo wants Jacob to bring back the title into the family because they briefly, I guess, made an announcement that there was going to be like a miniature tournament to decide who is the number one contender for the men's United States title, since that was somehow contentious. And Solo had gotten a spot in that. And so he is, in fact, giving it to Jacob. And so that's why he's saying, "Jacob, I want you to bring this title back to the family." And he goes on to say everything that he is doing right now is to show Jacob just how much he loves him. Jacob then kind of just walks away. And then we get a brief bit where Cody enters into the arena and he gets flagged down by two weird looking security dudes who basically say, "Mr. Rhodes, we would like to show you to your dressing room." And he's like, "My dressing room?" And they're like, "Yep." And so apparently it has some perks when The Rock wants your soul. So he goes to his dressing room, and there we find that R-Truth has somehow, like, this dude can break into anyone's dressing room at any time. He did it to the Judgment Day, he did it to Cody Rhodes. But Cody's taking in, like, the opulent dressing room. Like, there's a whole big buffet spread with, like, shellfish and all kinds of good stuff. And there's, like, a whole wine rack and several couches. And R-Truth is there eating the shrimp already. And basically, he pretty much says, you know, maybe you should consider selling your soul to The Rock because this is a pretty nice setup. And he says, don't be shellfish. Because
oh Lord,
R-Truth could get used to a dressing room like that. And then R-Truth basically makes himself at home in Cody's new crazy locker room. And from there, we are brought to the second match of the night. And I'm gonna throw it over to you. What did you think of the second match of the night?
I thought the second match, which was Jacob Fatu versus Andrade El Idolo, in a number one contenders qualifying match, was solid. And not only was it good because Jacob Fatu was in it, but it was good because Andrade brought it. Him and Jacob looked really, really good together. And I actually thought it was gonna be like I honestly thought it was gonna be Jacob Fatu basically just yeeting Idolo around the ring, but that was not the case. Andrade, and I have to mention Andrade because we all know Jacob's gonna go. Jacob came in, Jacob did the damn thing. Jacob did Jacob, so he looked good. We know he's gonna look good. But Andrade, which, and this isn't something that's like a one-off with Andrade. They get him in the ring most of the time. He makes both himself and his opponent look really good. And
Agreed.
this was no exception. So Andrade, I think, deserves some special mention in regards to this match and all others that we've seen him in. For the most part, he's been phenomenal. So this is probably the match I would have opened the show with, and then I would have had all the other stuff with Tiffy and Trish. I would have had all that after that. But you know, okay, I don't own a promotion, so what the fuck do I know? Excuse me, just sneezed.
Well, I think you know quite a bit.
Well, thank you, appreciate that. But long story short, I thought I fully expected Jacob Fatu to take the win here. And I wasn't disappointed, but I did not expect for Andrade to look as good as he did going against Fatu. Not saying that Fatu should have basically just, you know, crushed him, but excuse me, I'm trying to stop a sneeze from happening. But it was really good to see Andrade give. I mean, for the most part, he gave as good as he got. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm with you. I kind of thought going in that this was going to be like Andrade getting smoked by Jacob because we watched Jacob like destroy Braun Strowman, right?
yeah,
And so I was pleasantly surprised with the fight that Andrade put up, and it really kind of conveyed the idea that both of these men are serious about trying to get this U.S. title. And
yeah,
um, it was a much more give and take match than I thought it was going to be. And in fact, for a good portion of it, I felt like Andrade was actually up. Like
yeah.
I felt like he was delivering more shots to Fatu there for a little while. And I mean, he hit him with a crazy moonsault, like over the corner buckle. And I got a little worried because the way he ended up landing, he ended up kind of hitting his back and upper back and neck on the padded guard post area. And I was like, well, now hold on. That's what nuked JD McDonough last time. So let's be a little more careful with that. But it looked badass.
I was just about to say, I don't know what's going on with all these dudes that want to JD themselves, but I want them to stop trying to be McDone.
Yes. McDone for.
Yeah,
so yeah, just be a little more careful with that because you guys are whiplashing your upper backs and necks into stuff. Now, at least this was like the padded wall. It wasn't as bad as the way JD hit the announce table, which has been like reinforced since, recently. But goodness gracious. That said, as we head into the final portion of this match, it's really looking like it could have gone Andrade's way until Fatu ends up blocking the message and takes the underhooks and flips Andrade over him. And Andrade tries to turn it into a sunset flip of sorts. And Fatu just straight up hits him with a bonsai drop. And it was at this point that Andrade just wasn't going to recover because then Andrade sort of rolls off into a corner to recover. And that's when he gets hit with two of those nasty looking hip attacks. And then Fatu drags him out of the corner to hit an absolutely disgusting looking impaler DDT. Like Andrade really super sold it, like landing very much like on his head for it. And then he, of course, Jacob, connects with the beautiful double jump moonsault and picks up the victory. So it was just that quick. Like at the very end, Fatu just turns it around and hits him with a series of offense that like literally no one's coming back from. And so Andrade put up a good fight, but ultimately Jacob wins this match. And it was a good match. It was one of the better matches of the night. And there were a lot of matches, so that's saying something.
Yeah. Could not agree more.
Would you like to speak to the backstage segment coming up?
Yeah. After the match with Fatu and Idolo, we go backstage where Nick Aldis is scolding the Street Profits. Because why is he scolding the Street Profits right then and there?
Because they obliterated every tag team on the roster the week before and have been on the warpath.
Right, that's right. He was getting on them like they hadn't done anything tonight yet.
Yet.
But that's right. He was getting on to me. And he basically said 3 months. Or they responded because he wanted to know what's gotten into them. And Montez basically says 3 months of them being put on the show for not getting a tag team title opportunity that Nick promised them is not sitting well with the Street Profits. And they're not going to stop until they get the opportunity. While they're having their conversation with Nick, Legado del Fantasma shows up, and Santos Escobar is really glad that the Street Profits are back because now they can finally apologize to him and Legado for falsely accusing his family of taking them out. And Angelo was like, "Nah, Cap, I'm not doing that." And Santos was like, "Well, that's good because now they're gonna beat an apology out of them." And Street Profits were like, "Any day, buddy." And they were right. "Let's go, buddy."
Right.
You want to go,
like,
pal?
What's good?
You want to go, buddy? Let's go.
Right. The Prophets looked at that like, "Are you smoke? We want to smoke."
Yeah. Excuse me. So he's gonna beat Santos and Legado. They're gonna beat the apology out of him. Street Profits are like, let's do this. Let's have it. Nick tells Santos to save his energy for LA Knight for Louisiana Night. Um, and just told me he was 2 victories away from getting a U.S. title shot, and Nick makes a match with the Profits and Los Garza for later tonight, or later that night. Tonight. That
Yep.
night being tonight. Boom,
And it
boom.
was so later, like it was the very next match.
Very next match, yeah. So he was like, "You guys can go fight," and they were like, "Okay." Then they went out there and they had the third match: the Street Profits versus Los Garza, and this just turned into sheer insanity.
Yeah, a brawl for it all.
I basically pick a tag team that's on SmackDown and backstage, and they came out. Uh, it just ended up turning into insanity. Um, I was like, "Is this a Royal Rumble?" Uh,
It is now.
uh, before the match even got started, the Street Profits are coming down the ramp. DIY attacks the Street Profits. Um, Los Garza's like, well, we're already here, we're dressed, so then they got into it. Garza, no, after him, Pretty Deadly, after them, Pretty Deadly shows up. Dressed as butch as they possibly can be. It's a vibe. Um, I mean, who else? After that, the Motor City Machine Guns show up. Like basically, pick a tag team that's backstage, and it's the ones the ones that have been going at each other, for 3 weeks or so now. So all of them are in the ring now. Just out on the ring, are in the ring on the apron. Um, just insanity ensues, and it was really good to see.
Yeah, this was really fun to watch, even though it was a match. It basically was a no contest because the match never got started.
Yeah.
But these four, like, top of the card tag teams on SmackDown were just beating the holy hell out of each other. Did I count that right? Los Garza, DIY, Street Profits, Pretty Deadly. Oh, I forgot one. Motor City Machine Guns. So five tag teams are just taking turns beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah. Motor City Gun Machines.
Right. The Motor Machine City Guns.
City Motor Gun Machine.
the Gun Motor Machine Cities.
The city machine motor guns.
Motor guns. Yeah, well, it definitely showed up and made at least one fist, and I mean, this was a fantastic brawl, because there was relatively no stakes with Los Garza and the Profits, so we were just looking forward to seeing like the new vicious Street Profits tear La Garza to pieces.
Yeah.
And this actually devolved into something more interesting because they gave this a good little amount of time for these five teams to beat on each other and really kind of like show off the tag division. And so this was I know it was a no contest match, but it was a really nice showcase of these teams just losing their shit against each other. And it's like the tag title scene is looking brutal on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So following that, which was a lovely brawl, like especially since like the whole crowd was chanting "Let them fight," so they let them get away with it for quite a while before security actually was able to do anything.
Yeah.
But following that, we see Cody Rhodes, who like is basically just wandering the halls, even though he's got that super swanky dressing room. Although there's an R-Truth in it, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But Cody is pretty much this evening, like he's just sort of wandering around talking to people, and In this particular segment, he runs into Drew McIntyre, and Drew, says, "I know, Cody, that you've got a lot on your mind, a big decision that could affect your life and your family for generations." And he says, "If I was in your position, he wouldn't know what to do." He recalls when him and Cody were so low on the card a decade ago, they would do anything to get to the top. And he said it was particularly telling that you didn't automatically respond to The Rock's offer. It said a lot. But Drew goes on to say he doesn't know what The Rock's going to do when Cody does finally say yes, and Rock finds out that Cody sold his soul a long time ago. And then he pats Cody on the shoulder and walks off.
Mic drop.
Mac and drop.
Mac and drop. And then we had after that, we had pretty much the John Cena video package that they have played.
They have milked it. I wish I could not see it at this point.
Boy howdy, they have beaten that horse.
Yep.
Under the ground, dug him up, and beat him some more.
Yep. So, essentially, the press junket that he gave after Royal Rumble that's been played on at least 3 other shows since, and they played it almost in its entirety again tonight.
Yeah.
There was if I had one complaint, and I have more than one complaint, but one of the complaints I would have about this particular episode of SmackDown is so much recap by way of video package. Like, we got a lot of The Rock's awkward ass SmackDown from the week before stuff. A whole lot of like the stuff going on with Sammy and Kevin, and this thing with John Cena. Like, they have overused some of these video packages. At this point, I don't think there would have to be a feud between Sammy and Kevin anymore for them to still want to use the footage of Sammy eating that package pile driver. They have played that at least 4 or 5 times. Like, somebody back there really loved watching Sammy get drilled with the package pile driver.
It's a pause. It's the pause that they do.
They always pause it. So you can tell that Sammy's tucking his chin and looking like, oh, this is going to suck.
Yeah. Bless him.
Bless him.
But, yeah. I believe after the John Cena video package replayed for the 87th time, we had a little segment where Drew, after saying his bit to Cody back yonders, has now made his way out amongst the people and has a mic. And he wants his music turned off. He's got some stuff he wants to say. He comes out and he wants to drop some truth bombs. I'm assuming is what he wants to do, because I mean he makes his way all the way out to the commentator's desk, climbs up top, and then does his best CM Punk impersonation where he sits Indian style on the table to drop all his truth bombs. Now, did you want to recap what he said? And it wasn't just him. Like this became a segment of CM Punk, Logan Paul, Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre basically coming out and saying their bit before Elimination Chamber tomorrow.
Yeah, this was a relatively long segment where 5 of the 6 men in the Elimination Chamber came out to basically cut promos on one another and recap their histories that they have with each other. And the only person that didn't show up was John Cena, the guy who inserted himself into the match. And they even point out during this segment, a couple of the other participants in this match point out that John Cena didn't even show up. In fact, it was the crux of Logan Paul's entire thing, because Logan Paul comes out to John Cena's music, and so everybody's like, "Oh my god, he did show up!" And then he's like, "Psych." And that was the like most interesting part of that promo, because Logan unfortunately did not cut a great promo here. Like, of
Oh
all of the
boy.
people, and I say this as someone who does not like CM Punk, and I think he has incoherent bullshit promos. He did not have the worst promo here. Logan kind of did.
Yeah.
Um,
Kinda.
yeah, I mean, like, he absolutely did. Sorry.
Logan came out and he did his. They told him, "Hey, go out there, pretend to be an amateur comedian, but you suck." And he
And he
was
was like,
like,
on
"I
it.
got it. Yeah, I understand my motivation. I'm on it." And boy, he if that was his motivation, if that was his inspiration, then that is certainly something that he should win an award for, because that was spot on. It was so bad, so lame, so cheesy. His insults were like, okay. Meanwhile, the insult MVP of the night, good lord, can't believe I'm about to say this, CM Punk. CM Punk, out of all of these dudes, uh, gave us one of the funniest uh
Lines of the
promos.
night.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
but
of the
that
funniest
came later.
lines
It
of the
wasn't
night.
it wasn't
No,
here in this segment,
it was
unfortunately.
the first one was in here because he had two of them. He talked about Seth Rollins' outfit and how Seth Rollins came
Well,
out and
yeah.
said that he was feeling as good as he looks, and CM Punk says, "You feel as good as you look. Fantastic, because you look like an oven mitt." And I cooked you on January 6th.
Yeah, that was a good one. I agree. That wasn't the one I was thinking of, but yeah,
No,
that was a good one.
no, but that had me rolling. Because I was trying to figure out. I'm like, what the hell is this Seth? What is he wearing?
Yeah.
Looking like a gun holster that Granny knit. Like it was. It was
He
bad.
did
That's what
he
his
did look
pants.
like he was wearing a gigantic, like, he had parachute pants, but everything was like knitted or stitched or quilted or something.
Quotes
What
it.
did you and so it did look like a giant oven mitt. So it was perfect.
Oh, I don't know if anybody in the ring thought that was hilarious, but I sure did.
Yeah. Now, on the whole, I mean, this wasn't a terrible segment, but I feel like it ran a little bit long for what amounts to a dick measuring contest between all of the participants in the Elimination Chamber, save for
Yeah,
John Cena. Um,
yeah.
so,
I feel like it ran on
eh,
long, and then all of a sudden Logan showed up, and it ran on longer.
yeah,
Oh,
exactly. So it felt long before it felt for sure long.
yeah. And then while Logan was talking, I could just feel the audience's souls being drained.
Yeah. And after, I mean, this was shortly after we had just watched the entire tag division break down into a brawl. And so I was a little sad that so many competitors were in the ring talking shit to each other and it didn't degenerate into a brawl as well.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, there was a part where CM Punk tried to chase after Logan Paul and Logan was like, holla, see you tomorrow.
he
And that was
ran
it.
so
But
fast, and I was like, "Oh, that's bad."
yeah. But with the exception of a clever zinger here and there, for as long as this segment was, it wasn't that great. Um, I'm really, maybe here's a good spot to make a comment of the fact that, like, SmackDown the last couple of weeks has had a few issues, and it seems to coincide with, since it's gone to its 3 hour format. I'm not sure they know exactly what to do with it.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, there was some awkward spots in this one, and it gets worse later. But I'll save it for then. But after that, we are brought to our fourth match of the night, which is LA Knight versus Santos Escobar. And this is a number one contenders qualifying match. And of the qualifying matches, I think maybe this one had some of like the flubbiest stuff in it.
It did, yeah.
Escobar,
Regrettably.
I feel like Escobar. There was a part where LA Knight went to deliver kind of like a spinning side effect, and Escobar like sandbagged him, so it looked awkward. And then when
Yeah.
LA Knight went to deliver his neck breaker that he does when he's put somebody like into a corner, where they're facing the corner and they sort of bounce off, and then he'll get him with like a flying neck breaker that looks like a inverted RKO. Almost everyone makes that look great, and later in the night, that spot gets hit with somebody else, and it looks great. Escobar like flubbed the shit out of it, and it looked awkward as hell.
Yeah.
So I don't know if those two men just lack good chemistry or what, but Escobar LA Knight did not look great. I'm not saying there weren't some high spots. There was a very risky but not necessarily worth the payoff Avalanche Hurricane Rana that was done. And the reason I say it looked risky is that it looked like it was a real struggle for LA Knight and Escobar to stand on the top turnbuckle together.
Yeah.
And for what you end up getting out of that versus somebody sitting on the turnbuckle and just doing it, I don't think is worth what that looked like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like juice not worth the squeeze for as much effort and risk as they put into it. However, one of the cooler things that happened was the finish of this particular match, which was where Escobar like comes off the top rope looking for, I want to say, like either a crossbody or something. But he basically flies head first at LA Knight, and LA Knight like essentially grabbed him out of the air, and for all intents and purposes, it looked like he RKO'd him. Like it was like a standard Randy Orton anti-air RKO, but they're like, oh, it's an anti-air BFT. And I was like, sure, why not? I'll take it. That was unique. Otherwise, this was only a meh match. Escobar and Knight, I don't think look too good together. Like their chemistry reminded me of like that Bailey Nia Jax, like the Nia Karana incident. Like so, it was just not clicking for him on this one.
Yeah.
But LA Knight, of course, wins because I guess Santos Escobar, and maybe for good reason, if this match was any indication, is not getting anywhere near that U.S. title.
Yeah. Gee, I honestly don't know what was happening. I don't know if it was a communication thing or if they just don't work together. Maybe the chemistry was off, or maybe it was just one of those nights. Everybody has an off night every now and again, but whatever the case, this match was unfortunately, the flubbiest. And we've seen LA Knight. As a matter of fact, we had two matches that we could compare in tonight's show. And it just looked like the problem wasn't LA Knight. So
no, all of these moves we've seen LA Knight do to other wrestlers, and it's never an issue. And like you said, like since each of the individuals that win in these qualifying matches tonight are going to be in a triple threat later in the evening, we do ultimately have two matches in which these guys are going to be performing. And yes, LA Knight later, when he does some of these moves, no trouble at all. So I agree. I think Escobar was the issue. And I hear what you're saying about how everybody has an off night, but how many times do you see Escobar get TV time on SmackDown? If you're going to have an off night, don't make it the night when you rarely get to actually be in a marquee match for the evening.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
And I say that as somebody who had high hopes of Santos Escobar when he came to the main roster, because we had kind of looked at a little bit of NXT. And so we knew we were watching like Tony D and like the Italian Mafia versus Santos and like the Latino Mafia. And that was some good stuff on NXT. I'm waiting to be impressed with Santos Escobar or Legado del Fantasma since he's been on the main roster.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a bad look.
Indeed. Well, following that particular match, with LA Knight, of course, being the winner, we are treated to, because it's Canada, Sami Zayn coming out, and everybody everywhere in Toronto, like even people that weren't in the stadium, were singing his song.
Yeah.
And we're going, like, when this is happening, we're like, okay, I get it. I get that Sami Zayn is a hometown favorite here. Although I think it's interesting that Sami Zayn gets to pick whichever hometown he's in, whether it's Toronto or Saudi Arabia. Pick a lane, Sammy. That said, when he came out, I was like, what the hell is left for Sammy and Kevin to even say to each other at this point? Because on our last review of SmackDown, or maybe it was even on Raw at this point, but the last time they interacted with one another, we were like, this thing is coming off the rails, because they're just like over promoting it at this point, because they've run out of like shit to say. They've gotten inconsistent. But at least here, Sammy goes on to tell Kevin Owens, I understand you're in Toronto. Durr. Like, I think he lives there. Here's the thing, Kevin. You and I've been doing a lot of you've been doing a lot of running and hiding, hanging out in your car, shooting selfie videos. I know for a fact you're in Toronto tonight. I'm standing in the middle of the ring right now, so if you got something to say, I'm inviting you out of here. I'm sorry, I'm inviting you out here just to look him in the eye and say it to his face. And so, of course, Kevin Owens is going to do that, right? Nope. Kevin Owens ends up sending like himself in a video package in the arena where Elimination Chamber is going to take place, which is not the arena that they're in now. So he's in an empty arena in the ring there, kind of talking at Sammy over the Titantron. And he says, and this is where it's again more off the rails. It's like Kevin Owens is just delusional at this point.
Yeah.
Because he's like, this is all your fault. You deserved everything that you had coming, and blah blah blah. When I end your career, I'm not going to help your family. I'm going to watch them suffer because this is all your fault. Blah 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 blah. So more of that crap. I mean, at this point, they talked me into and then out of my interest in this match. Like, as far as how they've promoted it. Like, I was interested the first couple of times when, it was like in the right spot, and then it just came off the rails and got weird. And now I'm like, okay, like, it better be a damn good match, because the build-up for it has sucked ass. You guys screwed it up royally. And then Sammy, of course, has to have a retort again. And so he's like, I'm nervous. I know it's not the manly thing to say. And I was like, well, that's fine, Sammy. We don't expect manliness out of you. And he said, I'm not nervous for me, though. I'm nervous for what I'm going to do to you.
Mic drop.
And I wonder if all of your family and your wife and your kids are going to ever be able to forgive me, because I'm prepared to end this, and I'm prepared to end you. And Kevin Owens says, there's only one thing left to say. See you tomorrow night. And I'm like, you should have said that like 3 weeks back, buddy. So, yeah. Mediocre, just to show off like two dudes from Toronto, because they're in Toronto. Over promoted. And they've really, I meant what I said. They sort of talked you into this match, and then kept talking until you're not as into it anymore. At least it's had that effect on me.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. They kind of just beat a dead horse with this.
Like, beat the dead horse and then rode the skeleton straight to hell.
Yeah.
Like, this is a masterclass in over promoting the shit out of something until it just isn't, like, you fucked it up. Like, it was good, and then you kept going and didn't leave it alone, and now it's stupid.
Yeah.
That said, would you like to speak to the next little segment and the fifth match?
Yeah. We go backstage, and Carmelo Hayes and The Miz are talking over names for the new alliance. Mello tells Miz that he wants to handle business by himself tonight. And the Miz says something like, "Hey, do that thing I showed you." And Carmelo said something along the lines of, "I'm not gonna need it." Then he leaves, and Cody Rhodes appears. And Cody is yeah. I guess basically the theme is he's walking throughout the backstage area, just conflicted with this decision that he has about whether or not he's gonna sell his soul to The Rock. So he keeps walking into certain superstars backstage, and they're basically giving him their opinion. Excuse me. So he shows up and Miz asks Cody how's it going, or how he's doing, and he lets him know that he lives in Hollywood. The Miz does, but The Rock runs it, and not just that, but the WWE universe doesn't get it. They see Cody Rhodes as the WWE champion, the face of the company. But Miz and Cody both know that there's so much more out there. And to be honest, the only way Cody gets it is if he accepts The Rock's offer, in the Miz's opinion. And if he doesn't accept The Rock's offer, then someone else probably will, he says. Which leads us into our fifth match, which is Carmelo Hayes versus Braun Strowman in a number one contenders qualifying match. And I will just tell you, it was very brief. Carmelo ended up doing that thing that the Miz taught him. As kinky as that sounds, it was just to cheat in the match. Basically, when the ref, and I mean, listen, before what I'm about to tell you, just know that it was going exactly how you would expect. Braun was yeeting Carmelo all around. Pick a spot, pick a location. He was most likely yeeted there. Carmelo. So what Carmelo did was wait for the referee's back to be turned, because Solo and Tama Tonga interrupted the match. They went after Braun when he was out on the apron and tried to attack him, and Solo tried to get him with the chair. That wasn't very smart.
Yeah.
Jacob, not Jacob, but Tonga got yeeted. Just thrown, literally
Just bodied. Yeah.
literally grappled or grabbed and yeeted, like oh,
Wheeled over the announce table. Yeah.
like you're in your room, you're cleaning up your floor, and you see you left a dirty sock. You pick it up and literally just yeet it into your clothing basket. That sock was Tama Tonga. He yeet, gone. Legend has it he is still underneath the commentary's desk to this day. But all, all jokes aside, Braun Strowman was like, "Get out of here," and he went flying. And while this is happening, and the referee's distracted, Carmelo gets a chair, comes back into the ring, smacks the mat of the ring with the chair, and then throws the chair at Strowman, and then lays on the floor. And the ref turns around, sees Strowman with the chair in his hand, sees Carmelo laying on the floor, holding his head in pain, and basically disqualifies Strowman for hitting Carmelo with the chair. Carmelo wins.
At which point, Carmelo is suddenly 100% better, rolls out of the ring, and is like gloating about it all the way to the back.
Yeah. So fun and believable ending. I loved this match a lot. I thought it was really creative for Carmelo to get the win that way.
Yep. And as homages to Eddie Guerrero go, it was very refreshing to see them do something other than somebody hitting the Three Amigos or a frog splash.
Yeah.
This was pretty good. And oh, yeah, that's right. It did not end well for Tama Tonga. Strowman was pissed about the way this match went.
Yeah. Yeah, after the match was over and Carmelo rose out of the ring and then runs backstage, Strowman was still in the ring and felt like somebody should pay for the stress that was dealt him at the hands of the Tongas. The Tonga and the Solos. So he goes down and he grabs him some Tama Tonga and brings him back into the ring and decided to just proceeds to body him as we would expect. But he was very upset, and the person who felt how upset he was was definitely
Tonga. Yep. He gets Tonga into the middle of the ring and power bombs the life out of the guy. Like, I saw Tonga's soul leave.
Yeah.
And
or
it also particularly stood out. Or go ahead.
Or if you're Tesseract, power slam.
If you're Joe Skeletor, then it was a power slam because he doesn't know what a power bomb is. Apparently, it wasn't on the monitor, so he just like, power slam.
He was so happy to say power slam. You have no, it was like he was like, I'm saying something. Everybody thinks I'm gonna get it wrong. Ha! Power slam.
You could almost feel that he was so proud. He's like, I know what Braun Strowman's typical finisher is. It's a power slam. Yes, it typically is. In this case, however, Tesseract, it was a power bomb. You idiot.
Yeah. He was ready though. He was ready.
Oh, he had that whipped out. Like, he was proud about it. He was like, I know this one. Nah, still got it wrong, buddy.
True story.
Strowman fooled you.
Now,
and then, go ahead.
No, you go. You go.
Okay. After that match, we're taken to the back where Bianca and Naomi are talking about how earlier in the evening at, I guess, the Elimination Chamber kickoff event, there was a confrontation where, I forget who it was, I think it might have been Michael Cole, was asking Liv and Raquel point blank if they did it. And Liv said, does anybody miss her? I mean, I know I don't miss Jade. And Raquel was like trying to say, yeah, nobody misses her. And that's when Bianca and Naomi attack them from the back. And this is all taking place like on the entrance ramp kind of area. And this results in a match that is coming up. And it is a 6-woman match that's going to involve Bianca Belair, Naomi, and Bayley versus Liv, Raquel, and Roxy Perez. So it's all 6 of the women that are going to appear in the Elimination Chamber, divided neatly into 3 little teams. 2 teams of 3. And so Bianca and Naomi are talking with one another, and Bayley shows up, and she's like punching the air, and she says, that's what it's going to be like when I get my hands on Roxanne Perez. And they all indicate that they hope that they get a piece of Liv Morgan, who, that they're competing for who gets to beat the crap out of Liv Morgan in the Elimination Chamber. And it's kind of at this point that Bayley says something that is highly incriminating. She's like, yeah, because we all know Liv and Raquel did it, right, guys? Right? Ha ha ha. kind of a thing. And it's like, oh man, if I didn't think Bailey did it before, I super think she did it now. And if you've been listening, I do think Bailey did it before.
Yeah.
My top picks are like Bailey, Bianca, or Naomi because they're the most compelling. Although there is a case to be made for Lash Legend.
Yeah.
But and maybe that would be it because Lash has been like Metaphor, who were so prevalent there for a little bit, have just been off SmackDown for a minute. So it's possible that Bailey saying that and being that obvious is one more red herring, but it's got to be one of those four because if it was like Nia or any, Liv or Raquel, it's too obvious and it's not that interesting.
No.
And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
only little bit of video evidence you guys have is the most circumstantial thing. Oh my God, they were in the parking lot of the arena at the event that was taking place where all of these women work. Oh, what were they doing there? It's weak. So,
Yeah.
but at any rate, they all sort of are happy about the idea of getting to beat the bejesus out of Liv, and then they sort of congratulate, if it comes down to Belair, Naomi, and Bailey, may the best one win. And Bianca's like, yep, I'm the EST, so that's going to be me. And she starts strutting away. And for some reason, I kind of missed why, but they both grab her hair. And it looked like Bailey nearly pulled her head back too far in this process. But they sort of form a train where Bianca is leading them by her hair.
Yeah.
And that leads us into the sixth match of the night, which is the aforementioned 6-woman tag match. Bailey, Bianca Belair, and Naomi versus Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, and Roxanne Perez. And what were your thoughts on this match?
It certainly wasn't the female banger match that we had Monday on Raw. It was okay. It was a solid okay, but not much happened, and it was kind of I guess it was kind of a slow match. I mean, it was nothing like the six man. It just wasn't, and it was I don't know what they're doing with Roxanne Perez. I know she's the prodigy or whatever, and it's good to see her, but I feel like she's showing up in WWE and has just I feel like they're trying to replace someone or something or feel something, some sort of void they feel is happening in the women's division in WWE, and I feel like they picked Perez, and I don't think that was the person you should have picked. Yeah, I don't even know what I just said makes any sense, but I feel like they're giving her a huge push right now, and I'm not sure to what end. But with that being said, I'm also not sure that she's ready to. Not sure she's ready for that push. She reminds me a lot of Sky Blue in AEW.
Who?
Is it Sky Blue or is it?
No. I'm sorry. I'm just joking because she's been out injured for so long. I was making a joke. I'm sorry. I know exactly who you mean.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that one. She reminds me a lot of her. Maybe she has a little bit more personality than Sky.
Well, yeah, I'll speak to it when you're done.
But I mean, overall, I mean, this wasn't like a bad match. It wasn't bad. It wasn't full of flubs and miscommunications or anything. But it wasn't full of any real solid, heavy hitting moves either. So yeah, that's how it was solidly okay. But if I wasn't in a good mood, I would call this mid. Those are both solidly okay and mid are the same thing to me. And I think it was that. I think it was just okay.
I kind of agree with you. For a match that is made up of the women that are all going to go against each other in the Elimination Chamber, you would think there would be some more heat on it, especially not just because of that, right? But also because the match where Liv and Raquel just won the tag titles was a hell of a match.
Yeah.
So I came into it thinking, well, all of those components are here. You're just adding Roxanne Perez and Bailey. And unfortunately, I agree with you. This just didn't have the punchiness that match did. This match ran for I mean, it felt like it dragged on, to be perfectly honest, which means, I'm not really that invested if I'm sitting there going, wow, this is taking a long time. Because if it's a match that you're really into, you don't notice the time passing.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you. I didn't see anything that blew my mind out of like anybody in particular. And unfortunately, that includes Roxanne Perez. I'm sorry, I didn't see any particular move that blew my mind until the end or after the match, which I'll get to. I was kind of hoping, because you haven't really had a lot of opportunities to showcase Perez to us, but you're giving her to us. That, you haven't had her cut any promos, so we haven't really seen her personality unless I guess you watched NXT. But suppose that you're someone like us that doesn't really look at NXT that much. Like anything we see from NXT has to be big enough to have crossed over and caught our attention. Because on average, we just don't look at NXT. It's not that compelling to us. So for Roxanne Perez to be put on the main roster and not really be getting much of a showcase time, it's like, what's the point then? Like, why are you putting her here? Because in this match, I feel like she did like 3 moves, like a forearm smash and then pop rocks. Yeah. So I didn't feel like I saw this wide variety of her moveset. I have yet to see you really let her personality come out. So I'm not sure what the purpose of this match is, other than to just show us who's going to be in the Elimination Chamber, but this match makes me think that the Women's Elimination Chamber might be boring.
Yeah.
So I really feel like, I hope Elimination Chamber is awesome. We'll find out later today. But the build-up to Elimination Chamber has left me wanting a lot. Like I'm struggling to find what it is I'm that interested in. I'm kind of hoping that amongst these women, the Elimination Chamber women, that there'll be some sort of outside interference. Like maybe Jade shows up and everyone's like, oh shit. Because as it stands, the build up to almost everything going into Elimination Chamber is kind of meh.
Yeah.
Like I'm not dying to see anything that I'm aware of at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. I agree. But Perez, she connects with the pop rocks. And she did that on Bailey. So yeah. Oh, but after that, she's pointing at the WrestleMania sign and looking doofy. And then Alexa Bliss appears behind her. And she gives her the sister. Alexa gives her the sister Abigail.
I don't think that's Sister Abigail. Sister Abigail is Bray Wyatt's move.
Right.
This is a like DDT, not a spinning flatliner.
They've been giving it some sort of like Sister Abigail spin, like it's apparently supposed to be some sort of variant. It's her spin on the Sister Abigail, allegedly. Okay, that's just like I don't know. I know what you're saying, and it hasn't been given a name, so maybe that's why they're still saying Sister Abigail. I'm not sure. But then after she did that, there was a Wyatt 6 graphic that flashed on the screen, which made me happy.
Yes.
Because hopefully they're still gonna keep that Wyatt 6 energy. and eventually she will be reunited with them. Yeah. But winner of that match, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Roxanne Perez.
Indeed. No, and I hear what you're saying. I think the entire internet is calling it Sister Abigail, but
Yeah.
it's not the move that I knew to be Sister Abigail that Bray Wyatt did. Bray Wyatt's was a spinning flatliner. What she's doing is the exact same move as Ludwig Kaiser, which is a spinning DDT.
Yeah.
Or twisting, maybe the right term, twisting DDT.
Yeah, I'm not sure what she's gonna call that, and if Ludwig is gonna change his move or do something else. I'm not sure, because she seems to be pretty adamant about doing that move. So, and she seems pretty adamant about doing it that way.
She does it well too. I mean, it
She does
looked
it well.
amazing. If we learned one thing about Roxy Perez, we learned that she can sell that twisting DDT like crazy, because she looked like she got murdered.
Yeah, she burped.
Exactly so.
Like her face hit the mat and it was burp. That was it. She was done.
Yep. So Team Liv, Raquel, and Roxy may have won the battle, but they lost the war. And I admit I'm excited at least about the returning Alexa Bliss and maybe her affiliation with the Wyatt Six, because not only is there something like, what is she doing with the Wyatt Six? Because they haven't made that clear, but it at least lets us know that the Wyatt Six hasn't disappeared into the void, because we haven't seen hide nor hair of them since their last match with the Final Testament.
Yeah,
and
I thought they were in trouble.
Is gone, like, for all intents and purposes. It's just Karrion and Scarlett at this point.
Yeah, they've had their Final Testament. They're off doing something else. We wish you luck in your future endeavors.
The Final Testament became the future endeavors.
Oh my god.
I do hope that they land somewhere. I'm sure it'll probably be Impact or something.
Or Impact, yeah. But after that, we go backstage with a Brian Saxton? What the hell was I trying to say?
Brian Sextant. That's perfect. From now on, he is Brian Sextant.
Well, he had a backstage interview with Charlotte Flair. My voice is trying to just leave me right now. It's like, bye.
No.
He wanted to know what her thoughts on tomorrow night's tag team match featuring Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus was. And Charlotte says she thinks that Tiffy and Trish's team is cute. But let's face it, after tomorrow night, Tiffany has a bigger problem to deal with. And that's the Queen. Tiffany better be prepared, because there's going to be no help at the end of that rainbow. No matter where Tiffy goes, Charlotte will be right there to remind her that time is running out. And she'll see her at WrestleMania 41. Woo!
All hail the Queen.
Yeah. And hey, I'm here for it. Charlotte is talking her shit, and she gave us a really good classic promo right there that was tried and true, what she did backstage with Brian Saxton. It was good to see, tad bit refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got then after that, Solo Sikoa, we cut to Solo Sikoa telling Jacob Fatu that he took care of Braun Strowman. And now it's time for Jacob Fatu to get the job done. And Jacob cuts a mean promo and lets them know, or lets everybody know, that he's ready to dog walk Louisiana Knight and Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah, I got to give Jacob a lot of credit. He's good at those promos where he's walking, from the backstage area through Gorilla and cutting a promo.
Yeah.
Uh, it seemed like the audio tweaked out a little bit, and that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with Jacob or his promo cutting skills. That was more of a technical issue on WWE's side.
Yeah.
But yeah, he killed it. He is so good. I'm so impressed with Jacob Fatu.
Yeah. Me too. Like he's good on the mic. He's good in the ring. Uh, you'll love to see the total package.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, before we get to that match, though, we get a Shinsuke Nakamura promo where he basically says in Japanese, "A dog is satisfied with the scraps that fall from his master's table. If you fools feel the need to fight for the opportunity to be humiliated by an honorable champion, then I will allow it. But know this: whomever comes out of this is going to be made into an example. The other dogs will see what happens when you bite my hand. Pray that you lose. Otherwise, what awaits you is nothing but hell." Alright, mic drop. Mic drop on
Yep.
all that. Shinsuke was talking his shit in Japanese.
Yep, he cut the full promo in Japanese, and those were the subtitles. Unless you speak better Japanese than I knew of.
No, those are the subtitles.
All told, though, not a bad promo. Um, that's a solid one too. Pretty much saying all of the dogs, and he's the master of the table. Roman Reigns might have something to say about that if he cared about your U.S. championship. But
Yeah.
otherwise, a very solid promo from Shinsuke.
And then that led us into the seventh match of the night, which was Jacob Fatu versus Louisiana Knight versus Carmelo Hayes in a triple threat number one contenders match for the WWE United States Championship.
Oh no, Lillian Garcia's here. I hate how she says championship. It's so entirely through her nose and
You don't like
like
that?
California Valley girl. Ugh.
You don't like championship?
No, I sure don't. I sure the hell don't.
Whenever she says that, I imagine a Jim Henson Muppet.
Well, now I'm thinking of Mercedes Monet.
She's just a tiny little baby.
Indeed. Indeed. Mini Monet.
Mini Monet, yeah. So, would you like to talk about this particular match?
Sure. It gets off to a hot start. LA Knight realizes who the biggest threat in this match is besides him, and he immediately goes after Fatu. And Hayes ends up trying to insert himself, and he gets swatted. And then Fatu starts beating up LA Knight, and they fight for a bit, and Fatu gets Knight kind of in the corner. And then it's at this point that Hayes tries to run up behind Fatu, and Fatu literally turns around and stare stops him. Like, he just looks at him, and Carmelo's like, skirt! It was fantastic.
He went from now's my moment to let me back the fuck up.
Maybe not now is my moment. So, essentially what you end up having here is, mostly Fatu versus Knight with occasional interference from Hayes. At no point does Hayes represent a threat in this triple threat.
No, he's the Dominic Mysterio of this match.
He really is, and that is an unfortunate position for Carmelo Hayes to find himself in. But that's basically the case. This was a match between Fatu and LA Knight, and Carmelo Hayes was occasionally there buzzing like a fly.
Yeah. He was there because they needed somebody to pin.
Now, we made reference earlier in the night about how LA Knight got off some of his moves, and in this particular situation, he got off his moves against Jacob Fatu, and in particular, it's that neck breaker that he does after he runs somebody into the corner. And
Yeah.
Jacob Fatu, at almost 287 pounds, jumps up and sells the shit out of this move, and Santos' tiny little bitty Mexican Escobar could not be bothered to do so in his match earlier in the evening.
Yeah.
And it it makes it clear to us that the problem in that match was not LA Knight.
Yeah.
And it's a sad thing to see because, again, Escobar gets so little TV time where he's doing a singles match and not cutting like some sort of just talky part. That when he does get into the ring, he really needs to make those moments shine, and unfortunately, he didn't.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be doom and gloom here, but I'm not sure it's looking good for Santos Escobar. I mean, they've already cut Electra Lopez. I mean, if they're looking to trim the fat, you don't want to be the guy that's not performing when you get some spotlight time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You don't want that to be you.
No. And you don't want it to be able to be said that Dominic Mysterio outperforms you in work rate in the ring.
Yeah.
But I digress. Fatu and Knight basically put on a clinic of ass whooping here. You get to see pretty much every high spot from Knight, including his various elbow drops. Again, that wonderful neck breaker. The only thing I didn't see was like where like Knight doesn't seem to do it that much anymore, where he'll run up the ropes and then like superplex somebody. He's instead taken to doing the double jump into the elbow drop more. And that's fine.
Yeah.
And of course, like Fatu is just destroying everyone at any moment that he is given an opportunity to put hands on somebody. There was a pretty funny moment between him and Hayes where Hayes was dumb enough to attempt to headbutt him and practically knocked himself out. And I swear I heard Fatu say dumbass. And it was so good. They were just outside the ring. And it made me laugh. I want to say Hayes ended up catching the pop-up Samoan drop, and it looked really good. And I think it came down to at the end, Knight was trying to go for the BFT on Jacob, and Hayes, this was a cool freaking move that Hayes got off, by the way, is right when LA Knight went to go for the BFT, Hayes runs up and hits both men, both Jacob and LA Knight, with a first 48. So I guess this was actually more like the first 96 because he got them both with it, and it looked cool.
Yeah.
It only resulted in a 2 count, and I want to say he then climbs up and does the nothing but net on LA Knight, but Knight manages the kick out, or I'm trying to remember. Either Knight managed to kick out or Fatu interfered. One of the two. And then there was a point that kind of didn't go, I think, according to the spot. It wasn't the worst flub in the world, but I want to say there was a point where LA Knight yeets Hayes out of the ring, and Jacob was trying to catch Hayes, but he ends up falling down and then has to fight his way back to his feet while trying to hang on to Hayes. And that looked a little off. But then he dumps Hayes into the ring steps. And that kind of, takes out Hayes for a little bit. And Knight comes out of the ring after that and does a running crossbody into Jacob Fatu on the announce table, and that looked weird and kind of spooky because it looked like he bent Fatu backwards wrong.
Yeah.
On the announce table. So I was like, ooh. But apparently Fatu was fine. He kept going. It just looked like kind of a vicious move. And I want to say, Hayes ends up jumping LA Knight after that, or grabbing hold of him and rolling him back into the ring. And he slams LA Knight's head on, I want to say, the top rope or top turnbuckle. And that sets up LA Knight for the nothing but net. And this is for the 2 count. Actually, I think this is the spot where he actually connected with nothing but net. The earlier one that I mentioned, he didn't actually connect with it. I think Knight countered out of it or moved out of the way. So he hits him with the nothing but net here for a 2 count. And this is the one that Fatu broke up because he ended up doing so with a fantastic looking swanton bomb to hit both men. And then he hits Hayes with the running hip attack. And this looked kind of brutal because Hayes wasn't flush with the corner.
Yeah.
He was kind of not all the way in there. So this just knocked him deeper into the corner. And it looked like it had worse impact. And then Fatu picks Hayes up and just drills him with an impaler DDT. And then hits the double jump moonsault at that point. And it was then that LA Knight made his move. And he grabs hold of Fatu when Jacob was attempting to pin off the double jump moonsault and yanks him out of the ring and then jumps in and pins Hayes to pick up the victory, making LA Knight the undisputed number 1 contender for Shinsuke Nakamura's title.
Yeah.
And this was a hell of a match. Actually, the really good matches of the night, with the exception being Knight versus Santos Escobar, were all of the matches that had to do with this number 1 contender's miniature tournament. And this was one of the better ones. Like Carmelo and Knight and Jacob were phenomenal against each other. And Jacob just looked good the entire night. I know he didn't win, but he absolutely stole the show with his performances. Like, he does so good. Can you tell I'm impressed with Jacob Fatu? I might be being too subtle. I'm impressed with Jacob Fatu, though. But yeah, really, really solid match, with the winner being LA Knight. Which, after that, we are taken to one of the funnier segments of the night, and I'll turn this over to you so that you can be the one that has to point out that CM Punk said something hilarious, because I don't want to do it.
God. Are we there yet? Let's see. Because I thought, yeah, you're right. Cody Rhodes runs into CM Punk backstage. And CM Punk looks at him and goes, "He wants your soul." And I'm like, I know. Like, everything in that sentence expressed exactly how I feel about...
Like,
I don't even know how he did it, honestly. But when he said it out, I felt it, man. I'm like, yeah, that's what he said.
yeah, what is that even about?
Yeah. And he also raised an excellent point. Excuse me. Punk says to Cody, "You're on top of the world. What else could The Rock possibly offer you?" And I'm like, I thought about that, and just thinking about that sentence or that question, and I totally agree with him. Like, I find myself thinking the same thing. Like, what is it? Like, and we'll unpack all the stuff that he ended up offering him or showing or I guess lavishing him with the gifts that he did all night, like he was trying to court a girlfriend or some shit. We'll get into all the stuff that he offered him, because there was absolutely nothing that he offered Cody that Cody couldn't already get right now. So I was really confused. Like I was just like, okay. Hey, so CM Punk is raising excellent points here. Um, excuse me. Uh, and Punk says he has no love for Dwayne, but he would like to see Cody take his offer. And Cody looked at him like a cow looking at a new gate. And, CM Punk's like, hear me out. Take that offer. Shine it up really nice. Turn it sideways. And shove it up his part-time Hollywood candy ass.
Mic fucking drop. That is the first time ever, and I'm including the original pipe bomb. I wasn't that impressed with it. This was the pipe bomb. This shit right here was comedic gold. This is the line that made me go, damn, maybe Punk does have some talent. Yeah. Or at least he has a talented ass writer, but he delivered the line perfectly. Credit to CM Punk here. Very hilarious.
In my opinion, I think CM Punk shined the entire night on mic. Which is something that I can honestly say I've never been able to say about CM Punk before. So
no, that's true, and that's fair. His line against Seth was fantastic. He was bringing it this evening. He in a somewhat meh show overall. CM Punk actually did really well.
Yeah. But CM Punk continues by telling Cody that he got here because he followed his instincts and he trusted his heart. Punk's not trying to influence Cody, but Punk is going to win the Elimination Chamber, and then he'll see Cody in the main event of WrestleMania. Then he pats Cody on the shoulder, and that's that. Probably one of the better spots of the night.
One of the better segments of the whole night.
Yeah, and CM Punk being the voice of reason, I don't even know how to handle that. But there it goes. He must got a new writer or something. Whatever the case, that writer meshes well with CM Punk. They understand each other. Honestly, I'm not even trying to be funny. They understand each other better than most of the writers that CM Punk has dealt with. So I say keep that guy around or whatever because, CM Punk looked 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I begrudgingly have to agree. Surprisingly, begrudgingly have to agree. This is probably the most sincere actual promo cutting skill I've ever seen out of CM Punk.
Yeah.
So he did tremendously tonight, and if this is the new normal for him, then I might end up being at least a begrudging CM Punk fan by the end. Now I need to go vomit. Do you want to talk about this next segment with Cody Rhodes and Michael Cole?
Okay, well, so Michael Cole was in the ring and he calls Cody Rhodes out. Cody Rhodes comes out with his song, which I swear to Bob, his song is getting longer and longer every time he does it. So fucking 10 minutes pass by, and now he's in the ring.
A decade. You mentioned his song getting longer. I remember how when he was first doing it, we were like, oh, he got to the weird part, that middle stanza where they're just screaming, the guy singing the song is just yelling, and then it has gotten longer because we used to get through just that first part, and it was rare that we'd get to the weird part because I'd always be like, oh, stop, it's at the weird part, and they would stop. Now they play through into the next I don't know, phrase, stanza, bar, what is it?
Yeah. From the next verse, chorus, and then the next. Yeah.
Yeah, so it has gotten longer. It's like almost twice as long as it was when he first
Well,
started
it's
coming
funny.
out with it.
It's funny you should mention that because once he won the belt that night, they played his song twice. Like it played long enough to loop around and play again. Right,
Hmm.
like on film. I'm pretty sure that when you're there, you'll just hear those songs over and over. Like I'm pretty sure it's just a loop de loop de loop while they get everything set up and ready.
Hmm.
But I honestly feel like they're playing way more of his song now, way
Yeah,
more, and he
and
walks slower for some reason. Um,
hmm
just everything coincides with him being slow and make. I'm talking about it and getting sleepier right now. Like
yeah,
it's
we
just
we used to say that about Roman Reigns when he was the champion. Is like,
yeah,
oh god, the next 90 minutes of the show is going to be Roman's damn entrance. And since Roman has come back and is not the champion, his entrance is a little more truncated. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Like this idea that like all this shit, and this is what I mean by not using the third hour of SmackDown where two squirts of piss is everything is just dragged out. And as we're about to see, this promo is about to be dragged the hell out.
yeah,
Cody Rhodes is now coming out with like Roman Reigns length of song. And it's like, what happened to this idea of being succinct? That brevity is the spirit of wit. It's just obnoxious to drag shit out this long. It's not more spectacular. And it's like WWE doesn't get that.
yeah. So and I just wanna I'm gonna read to you guys, if I may. I'm gonna read to you what Michael Cole says, Cody's response, and Michael's rebuttal to that response. Okay, here we go. Michael Cole, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the undisputed WWE champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Cody, music. He comes out. Okay.
Ah.
So, Cody, let's cut right to the chase. There's a lot to talk about. You guys remember that. You guys remember that sentence. There's a lot to talk about. Please, it's important. Remember that. Okay, I will continue. Elimination Chamber tomorrow night. 6 men vying for the opportunity to face you in the main event at WrestleMania for the WWE title. Also, in 24 hours, you have to make a decision. A decision of whether you're going to sell out to The Rock. Now, let's paint the picture here. The Cody Rhodes I've known for 20 years would never take this offer. He scratched, he's fought, he clawed. Those were your words to get to this moment. You had the guts to leave this company, and you forced them to bring you back a bigger star than ever before. You went on to main event 2 WrestleManias, earned those opportunities, finished your story last year, and now you represent all of these people, everybody in the WWE. You're living up to the legacy of your father. I want to bring up what may happen, Cody, if you accept the offer. Now, remember that we have a lot to talk about? Okay, Cody responds. Just real quick, Michael. I know you got questions. I know why you've got to ask them. That's all Cody gets to fucking say. Michael Cole says, Cody, you're trying to deflect. Holy shit. All right. We had a lot to talk about. I think Michael admit he has a lot to talk about. He
Right?
continues.
Because Cody, I don't think he deflected anything. Didn't
That
even get
wasn't
a chance to.
deflecting.
Yeah, he didn't get a chance to say shit before Michael was like, "Shut up, I'm still talking." Apparently, is essentially what he said.
No, I'm like, last I checked, you're a journalist. You are giving an interview. You want to hear what the person you're interviewing has to say. You haven't given them the opportunity to respond or say anything. And you guys heard what I just read to you, right? Like that's a lot of talk. Well, he continues. Cody, you're trying to deflect. The bottom line is this: if you accept the offer, you can have it all. You can have everything, all the money in the world. How does he have all the money in the world just because he's going to be someone else's wrestler? Like, how does that work? Okay, sure. You can be the corporate champion. You can decide when to defend your title, who to defend it against on the profitable events of the year, like WrestleMania. Hell, The Rock can give you a seat on the board. How? You can be part owner of the company. You can run this entire place. You can have everything. No more live events at small towns. Why? No more European tours for 3 weeks. Why? He's a champion. He's still the champion. Now he's just backed by more money, more corporation. That means he works more. What are you talking about? Hell, listen to this, he says. You could get rid of the bus. You could be home with your wife and your daughter whenever you want to. In what imaginary Candyland world the fuck you talking about? You get more power, you get more ability, you get more responsibility, and that equals more time off to do whatever you want with your family? You tripping. I'm gonna have to say cap on that, Michael. He continues. Wait a minute. I'm being told that there's something for you, Cody. I'm being told that there's a special gift for you tonight on Friday Night SmackDown. Good luck with that decision. He says as if, what is about to come out will just change the life of Cody Rhodes. And a large Cody Rhodes themed truck arrives at the top of the stage.
Yep, a big old pickup truck, because apparently that's The Rock's whole shtick.
I'm like, oh, okay, so yep. Cody can't afford a truck? I doubt that.
Yeah, that's out of his pay grade to have this custom truck with like Cody's logos put on as part of the paint job.
Like, it's probably his actual truck that they just told him to drive around here in front.
Maybe.
Either case, it's ridiculous. And then The Rock appears on the Titantron. Now listen, I refuse to try to read this jumbled, insane, I just got off a plane and I'm kind of tipsy because I had a lot of alcohol on the flight.
This is here. I'll give it a shot.
This was your drunk uncle at your wedding. Your drunkle talking on camera about you tying the knot, and he's going on and on about when you were a kid and you used to sit on his lap, and you're getting slightly uncomfortable because you're like, "What the fuck is happening?" That is what this was. And please,
this absolutely feels like just what happened to The Rock being able to cut a decent promo, one, and two, this is like the final boss drank all of the Terramana tequila before like coming to work.
Seriously, so he's like testing every bottle before he sends it out?
Apparently, and he's like, Cody Rhodes, SmackDown, Toronto, The Rock is coming, The Rock is coming. No. And then he's like, Toronto, he's getting ready to board the bird right now because he's in an airport. And he gets out of his truck, which he's going to have to repark before he can fly away because he parked it right next to the damn jet. And he says, this is going to be a big night tomorrow night, Saturday night, Elimination Chamber. Which night is it? This is going to be a big night, or tomorrow night is going to be a big night, or Saturday night's going to be a big night? Which one, you blathering idiot? So he's rambling, and he's like, Cody, you're going to make the decision of a lifetime. You know it. The Rock knows it. We've been talking. We've been texting all week. We FaceTimed once. You're going to do the right thing. I know that you're going to do the right thing, Cody. By the way, enjoy the gift. It's a Raptor truck, a gift from the final boss to you. I got your logos all over it. It's a badass truck just for you. Because The Rock knows you live driving, just like The Rock does, on the open road. You live driving just like The Rock does on the dangerous road, on the beautiful road, on the dusty road.
Did it say live or love?
I think live, like, because he's on the road so often is where he was going. But, I mean, your guess is as good as mine because this was The Rock Rambles. And he goes, speaking of dusty roads, which you weren't. You were talking about a Dusty Road, but whatever.
Yeah,
He says,
yeah.
God bless his soul, the American dream. The Rock has been talking to your daddy all week. He's been talking to your daddy all week long. And it's disturbing that he says it once, but he always has to repeat it. It's so like
Yeah.
he's got like a tick or something. Like it's weird. And he told me that you were talking to him too, which tells me that the final boss. It tells the final boss one thing: that you're going to do the right thing, Cody Rhodes. The Rock is
You're
a,
insane. How do you know you're insane, bro?
and he says the Rock is a big pot of coffee. He's got the cream and the sugar and the spice and everything nice to make all your dreams come true, dude. Get some help. Tomorrow night at Elimination Trainer in Toronto, Canada, you'll be waiting all night long to hear one thing. If you smell. And as The Rock's music hits, the roof blows off that stadium. The Rock walks out. He's going to walk to you, Cody Rhodes. He's going to open up his arms and say, Embrace me as your brother, and I'll embrace you as my champion, and you will give me your soul. Cody Rhodes, I want to make all your dreams come true. The final boss will make all your dreams come true, even the dreams you never have dreamt. Every opportunity you ever thought of is going to come true. The Rock will make it all happen. You and your beautiful wife, who I've had the privilege of meeting, your beautiful little girl, Liberty, who The Rock has had the privilege of meeting. All of your dreams come true with one decision. Tomorrow night, Toronto, Canada, we will make history, and you'll give me your soul, and you'll become my champion. Before The Rock boards his bird, Cody, I had a little gift made for you, and I've been wearing it all week long. And he ends up showing off a weight belt that says Cody's soul. And it's got a date, which I think was June 11th, 2015. And I'm like, oh, I'm sitting there thinking the whole time, what was that the date of? Well, he goes on after being incredibly creepy about this belt that he's rubbing in weird ways. He points out that this is the date that Cody Rhodes' dad died. And so this whole promo is like an attempt to outdo how fucking awful the promo was on the previous SmackDown. So they like double, triple, quadrupled down on this retarded ass shit. And at any rate, he goes on to finish finally saying, I love you, brother. See you in Toronto.
Finally.
And we end SmackDown with Cody looking troubled. Not necessarily because of the decision he has to make, but because he had to listen to all that shit and is now slightly more retarded for having done so.
Yeah.
So, with that all said, how would you rate this episode of SmackDown?
It's really hard to say. They picked such a horrible opener. Just so boring and just such a boring snooze fest of an opener. And then just chose to close it on some of the cringiest, confusing, like I like the stuff that the Rock has been saying in these recent promos is so unlike any promos that he's ever cut in the past that I don't know what's happening. Like I'm confused by legit confused by this. It's so bad that I can't tell if it's like is this a shtick? Is he doing this on purpose? Is he mimicking someone? Because he's changed even the way he talks, his cadence. It's almost like Trump. And I'm not saying that he's copying Trump, but he's actually, I don't know. It kind of felt in this promo tonight that he was mimicking the way President Trump talks, which confuses me even more.
I don't know. Trump is vastly more coherent than this.
I absolutely agree. I'm not saying that he's mimicking what he's saying. He's mimicking his style of speech. You guys go back and watch that, and you tell me what you think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's what he's channeling. I don't know. Whatever the case, you asked me what I thought about this particular episode, and I'm gonna say it was okay. 5, 6, maybe. I didn't feel excited about the end of that show. I didn't feel like getting immediately into the podcast and talking about how amazing it was. It was kind of a meh. There were some good things in it, but there was a lot of bad shit in it too. Um, Lots of flubs where I didn't think there should be at this particular stage. Um, just and it built really no heat for Elimination Chamber tomorrow. I could care less. I think I care less now about Elimination Chamber than I did before Friday Night SmackDown, and even more so before Monday, because they kind of killed it there too. I mean, not Monday, but like last Friday, whenever they started doing those weird promos, uh, with uh Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Whenever they started doing this recap, or where they just kept doing this answer to an answer to an answer,
Yep.
they just knocked the heat right off of that, like right off of it.
Yeah, it's like the first 3 built it, and then the last like 92 fucking murdered it.
Yeah. The Rock is incredibly incoherent. The belt made no sense. It says Cody So, but it has June 11th, 2015 on it. So Cody So what? And what does that have to do with the day his dad died? Why is he stroking the belt like it was like a porn object? No shit. I'm serious. Like why is this slightly homoerotic? Like what exactly is happening here? Long story short, I didn't really care for this entire show. This entire episode was kind of a meh.
Yeah, I'm
5, 6 Nick Nubs tops.
5 or 6. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not top tier for sure.
No.
I'm in agreement. I would say the only thing that was worth anything on this episode was some of the in-ring action, and it's not even all of it. Like maybe 3 of the matches were good, and they had to do with the Men's United States Championship. And then I did very much like the multi-tag team brawl. Everything else was mid to bad, and some of the stuff that was bad was super bad.
Super bad.
As you pointed out, like the over promotion of Sammy Kevin has gotten me less interested. Some of the matches, like Tiffany and Trish and Nia and Candice, I'm less interested in, and I explained why earlier, because I feel like I've seen this all before.
Yeah.
And this weird shit with Rock and Cody is just too weird for me to be into. Like, this has jumped the shark so bad that I'm just ready for it to be over before you've even done anything with it. Like, I can't believe you doubled down on this dumb shit after last week's SmackDown, which was extra dumb shit.
Yeah. This is literally MJF and Adam Cole after they came back from injury. This is just as bad.
It's jumped the shark into wild incoherence, and it's just bad. Like honestly, I wish I said this after we finished the episode, was like, before Cody came out to talk to Michael Cole, that whole segment made me wish we had just stopped watching after the LA Knight proving that he's the U.S. undisputed champ. Because that whole segment with Michael Cole and Cody Rhodes and The Rock rambling incoherent was just a complete waste of fucking time. Like, I came away from that wishing that the show had ended before we ever got there.
Yeah.
So for me, this was a very tanked episode. The WWE is all over the fucking place here. And it is really bad that you've actually unhyped me up for anything that's happening at Elimination Chamber. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about any of the stakes here at all. Going beyond that, they have completely lost any sense of what to do with this third hour of SmackDown, because it's led to them doing long-winded, rambling, dumb shit. And so instead of utilizing that time effectively, it's just dragging out shit that doesn't need to be drug out because they've got to fill that last bit of time. And it's like they don't know what to do with it. And so you end up with some really long fucking bullshitty ass stuff. So for me, this is redeemed only by the few matches and bit of action that was worth anything. But on the whole, this is like you said, a 5 or a 6. I would probably go 4 to 5, so I'm going to settle on 5. This is mediocre. This is nowhere, like, this can't even see what top tier as a rating looks like. It's so far down.
Yeah.
This was a terrible episode. When the episode itself is trying to accomplish two things. One, be an entertaining show in its own right, which it just wasn't. I mean, there were some entertaining portions, but those parts do not make up for the fact that on the whole, it was not a good show. And second, as a show just prior, like the day before a major pay-per-view, because Elimination Chamber is a big one, it unhyped the show. Like, it has done more damage to my interest in what happens at Elimination Chamber than if they had done nothing at all. So, yeah, this was a stinker. This was not a good episode. 5 neck nubs, absolutely can't even see what top tier looks like is my rating.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Truly unfortunate that WWE seems to have lost its way with SmackDown. Hopefully they can find it again.
Rock needs to find another sugar baby or whatever he's looking for.
Yeah, I am not feeling any of that, and this hurts me because I used to really, really enjoy The Rock, and these last 2 segments make me hope that he doesn't return to the WWE ever. Like, it's that bad.
Yeah.
So this has been our coverage of WWE SmackDown for February 28th. And I want to thank everybody who has taken the time to listen to this episode, and I hope you will join us for our next episode. Until then, I don't think there's a whole lot for me to do but roll the outro.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Top Tier Wrestling. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest AEW and WWE news and shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Follow us on social media for updates and to join the conversation. Until next time, everyone, remember, wrestling is always better when it's top tier.